Welcome back to the Growing Band Director Podcast. We are back to grade 1. Again, if you have been listening, this is part 5 in our 6-part series. This is our third part of grade 1. This is over 50 pieces for your festival band. Again, we suggest you bring your kids to festival, just getting them out of the city or town that you live in, getting them in front of other people. It's so important. Even if you do other things for marching band or winter percussion or anything, you need to get your concert band out.
One of the things that Larry Jackson did at Falmouth one time, I think he might have been ill the day his kids were supposed to go to the MBDA festival. So he had a couple of us come to his school and he invited the parents in we did the evaluation on the recordings, and then we worked with the group afterwards. And it was really important for the parents to see that clinic session, because that's, even though they're invited at MBDA to go to the clinic, not a lot of them do. And I think that's just as important for the parents' education to see what the kids are learning.
So he fabricated, sometimes too, for me, if concerts work out weird, if I want my kids to get some comments before that too, I'll invite a friend. Hey, here's $100. Can you come sit in the audience with your phone and just make a recorded tape? And then you can use that a couple weeks before the festival too. And that's a good thing to do. But the biggest thing is your programming, right? So this is why this is over 50 pieces at grade 1 and 2, which again, yes, for you high school people, you can use the grade 2s as well. Have high standards for what pieces you let onto your kids' concert programs. Keep listening until you find what fits them the best. Customize each and every program you give them like it was prescribed, especially for them. If a piece is really cool but does not fit them now or for them to grow into shortly, then don't use it, no matter how much you like it. These segments can be broken up into 3 programs: a march, a ballad, and a finale piece. But you can mix and match any of these pieces that fit your band. Again, we've already done a bunch of episodes of this already, so go back and listen to anything between 136 and 139, and you'll hear some others as well. If you really like a piece, put it on a list with some notes so that when it fits your band or you want to use it on a program, you have it available. If you think a piece is good for your kids in the next year or so, then start a concert list for the next 12 months, and then you can have it ready. All of these pieces are super cool. In grade 1 and 1.5, there's highly doubled parts, no more than 4 parts at a time, sometimes 3. Cues are very common, but there is a wide range of difficulty between grade 1 and grade 1.5. So choose for your band, not just the number 1. These pieces are very short.
Now, you solicited a lot of these tunes from followers of your podcast. And I know from my standpoint, I mean, it's overwhelming to go online and start programming. All the publishers have so much music, and a lot of it's great. But I used to believe in more when someone would say, this piece worked really well for me, or this piece was, had issues that my kids didn't really buy into. So I think all of these coming from different directors really would cut your workload down a little bit.
So this first piece is by Carol Britton Chambers. It's a march called All for One, One for All. And I love the beginning. So if it's in 2/4, B flat, and then E flat major. So the beginning goes 1 and 1, 1 and 1. And then the third time goes 1, 2 and 1, 2, 1. And you could just tell she's a teacher and she's writing it pedagogically.
Right.
Let's see. And there's 5 percussion parts. So here's All for One, One for All, Carol Britton Chambers. ballad that we have paired for that is, I don't know if this is good programming or not programming, but it's also by Carol Britton Chambers. This was recommended to us by Colleen. This is a grade 1.5 called Softly Speaks the Night.
I know when I'm trying to compose a melody and a slow lyrical melody, leaps in the melody can add an awful lot of drama. But from a practical standpoint, the leaps at grade 2 can present a lot of challenges. And I will really struggle to the point where I can't find the right key area where I want to write that to get what the effect. So I end up changing the melody and I lose some of the drama. The clarinet leaps here, especially across the break, and leaps with the brass can result in hitting the wrong partial. But in this piece, she masterfully has done that. If a clarinet player is going to come in on a third space C, the player usually has a whole note before even a rest, but it's time to set up that fingering, where at this level, you wouldn't write A, B, C. You know, the kid's going to struggle going across the break, and brass players forever would hit the wrong partial.
Yeah, the inner lines are great on this. When I did this with my piece, with my band, we really worked on fitting their sound into the people's sound around them, and balancing to the melody. And at one point, I had 3 kids on clarinet 1 and another 40 playing who had to fit underneath that clarinet 1 part. And so, you know, that's what I used.
It has moments where the woodwinds are playing by themselves and then the brass. And I used to love with my middle school kids, especially 8th graders, because they were more mature. I would say, okay, I need to be impressed today. Woodwinds, let's play this section. You need to move me emotionally. Or brass, when you do it. Brass, you just, not today. It just wasn't happening. Maybe another day will work. They lived for those moments because they're competitive. Yeah. And it wasn't about right notes or wrong notes. Play the music that's there.
Yeah, I think there's a 4 or 6 measure brass section in this, and it's very playable and great. So here's Softly Speaks the Night by Carol Britton Chambers. Okay, the final piece we're going to use with this actually starts with a short, slow section and then moves to faster. So again, if you had a different middle piece that was not a ballad, this piece could work as sort of a ballad and your closer at the same time. This is by Michael Sweeney. And again, coming up in February, March, there's going to be an episode that I get to meet with him. It's going to be awesome because you could do a career's worth of his music. This is called Celtic Air and Dance. It's slow and then fast, B flat major, E flat major, 4 percussion parts. I have a daughter who's in 7th grade who's playing it right now. It is her life. And so students would love it. There's a tempo bump at the end. And it's one of my personal favorite grade 1 pieces.
Well, I went to a clinic one time at Midwest that talked about writing for young band. And they said, you want to write in the keys of B flat, E flat, and F. Well, harmonically, that can get pretty bland unless you're super creative. And I've said several times here, you can always introduce notes from outside those keys. And how long does it take you to teach the kid the note and the fingering? And here he uses the lowered seventh right off the bat, and it changed the whole feel. That's good creative writing, and it's not hard to do, as long as you can hear those harmonies.
My kids made up a story to this piece too. So like it was about there was like the female theme, and then she met a guy in the next theme, and then they were getting married, and the dance at the end was like at their wedding, and the parents didn't agree. It was like this whole thing, but the kids loved it.
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, just like that. Yep.
And I made a comment that the bell part, which is pretty important in this, could be played on a keyboard if you had a student that wasn't ready for that.
Sure. Here's Celtic Air and Dance, Michael Sweeney. Okay, so the next series we're going to do here is going to start with the march called Cadets in Step by Matthew Putnam. This is a true grade 1 march. It does use a single chromatic note of F sharp concert, great dynamic contrast, piano and forte, and goes to G minor, natural minor in the bridge. Sorry, on the trio.
That makes all the difference. That F sharp, added so much right when it's the right spot, and it's not going to be hard to teach. It does have a cool ending, and
here's Cadets in Step, Matthew Putnam. ballad we're going to put on this grade 1 program was actually a brand new piece to both Terry and I, and we're really happy that Tim McDonald sent it. Thank you, Tim. This is called The Tears of Arizona, Remembering Pearl Harbor by Brian Balmages. Great little piece of music, and it's a ballad that has even the faster section sounds like a ballad, and there's lots of percussion. There's actually 6 different parts, so if you have a stronger section, it's a good ballad to use. B flat major starts with a low flute opening down to low concert E flat. Again, it references Arizona, which is the USS Arizona that lays entombed in Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, I mean, what a great way to coordinate with the social studies teacher, on a unit about World War II, Pearl Harbor specifically.
And if you have not been to Hawaii, you should go, and you should stand over that Arizona and see oil leaking out still to this day. It's quite moving. So here's The Tears of Arizona by Brian Balmages. The third piece we're choosing to pair with Cadets in Step and Tears in Arizona. Again, these are all interchangeable, so you could put this on any other program. It's called Declaration and Dance by Larry Clark. It's pretty fast for this grade level, but all the 8th notes, if I'm not mistaken, are repetitive 8th notes. They don't change pitches. There are 7 percussion parts. It's a very happy piece. The snare drum part is definitely hard for the level of the piece. So you need that best player on that. And it starts with like an E flat major 7 sounds. It's a little more contemporary.
And the dynamics are like forte, fortissimo, and a great way to teach students the concept of changing dynamics on a repeat. We see that often in a march.
Yep. And I love it when they do forte piano. It's obvious,
And the opening statement's great. I mean, I think the kids will like it so much that you'll probably have to give them the hand every once in a while to back it down. They'll dig in.
So here's Declaration and Dance by Larry Clark. Okay, so we have two pieces left. This one is not going to include a ballad. It's just sort of the way this episode worked out. So this march is a great 6/8 march by Randall Standridge called Starfire March. It is the Galactic Empire Part 2. So there's multiple pieces with this, Star Wars sort of sound. Cool timpani part with dampening. It's a great 6/8 march. So the timpani part will need to be dampened because it's pretty exposed in rests. And the simple combinations of 6/8 make it a grade 1.5.
Yeah, I think when you're teaching 6/8 and 2 for the first time, don't overthink it or overteach it. It'll almost play itself, but then it's important to go back and reinforce the counting aspect of it once the kids have it. I think if you do the counting ahead of time, it becomes too mathematical and the kids are just going to overthink it.
One thing I've learned over the years is I have a couple of sheets, and I can share with people if they want to send me a message of nursery rhymes that are in 6/8. So kids all play these unison band nursery rhymes because there's only how many rhythms in 6/8? Like not many.
Right.
So once they take what they know and they see it, then it helps with pieces like this.
It has repeated sections with parts played on the second time. There are some out of key notes that you would expect in a minor key. It's easy to teach them, and a very Star Wars flavor that the students will love to play.
Yep. So here is Starfire March, Randall Standridge. Okay, so our final piece is going to be a closing piece. This is called Red Comet by Michael Orr. Again, if you have not listened to other episodes, this is the third part of our grade 1. So anything that is numbers 136 through 141, you'll have a chance to go back and listen to any of these and put them on lists and use them. Happy to have Terry here giving his insights on these pieces.
Nice aggressive opening statement, some alternating between 4/4 and 3/4 time signatures. Again, oftentimes just let the music play itself. Don't overthink it. I think the students will be engaged throughout. There's a couple of quick moments that remind me of James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
And I, of course, now I'm dating myself because kids won't really know who James Bond is anymore.
I wrote there's 6 percussion parts. It's an E flat major, but it's really F Dorian minor. Starts with a hemiola sound. So there's a lot of this 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and. So it kind of turns the time around a little bit if you're not paying attention. The 3/4 aggressive section in the middle is pretty cool. And there's a great timpani part to feature one of your players. Low brass are all in octaves the entire time. So that helps. So here is our final piece. Hope you've enjoyed this one. This is Red Comet, Michael Orr. We sincerely appreciate you taking your valuable time and listening to the Growing Band Director podcast. Your students are very lucky to have a band director like you. If you have any suggestions for episode topics or think you have an area of expertise to share on a show with us, please reach out. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to help spread the word, please give us a 5-star review and tell your band director friends to subscribe as well. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our YouTube channel, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening to The Growing Band Director. See you next week.